Your alternative talk radio contact, The Planet, KGRAradio.com.
With infinite complacence, people went to and fro of the earth about their little affairs, serene in the assurance of their dominion over this small, spinning fragment of solar driftwood, which by chance or design, man has inherited out of the dark mystery of time and space.
Welcome to another edition of Into the Fray. My name is Shannon LeGros. On this very special edition, I thought I'd give everyone a sneak peek as to what's going on the inside. When you become an insider, you will get all the video and audio and extras, but on this episode of the main show, I thought I would pull out the audio from one of the videos from my trip to Fox Hollow Farm. And in this video, as an insider, you will see me sitting at the table at Fox Hollow Farm with Joe LeBlanc, who lived for a time at the property with Rob and Vicki Graves and their family. You will see Rob Graves, who is the owner of the home, and also you will hear from Brian, who is a medium, and he's actually a fantastic medium, and I was blown away by him during my time at Fox Hollow Farm. So, without further ado, this is entitled The Man in the Red Shirt, because if you are familiar at all with the story of Fox Hollow Farm and the young men that passed away there, one of the thoughts is their spirits are still lingering at this property. And Joe LeBlanc and Vicki Graves have both seen a man in a red shirt with no legs walking from the property into the tree line. So if you would like to see this video for the insider content, plus all of the others, there is 5 episodes on Fox Hollow Farm alone, plus one still upcoming, entitled Where the Bodies Are Buried. There are listener encounters, special videos, and the omissions episodes, the conversations between my guests and I that never make it to the main show. So enjoy this special Fox Hollow Farm episode.
Saw a ghost in the woods with a red shirt. I said, why did you tell me this about 45 minutes ago? I didn't even have a red shirt, or one of Michael's. Yeah. Anyway, I ran through the woods in a red shirt because I thought the whole thing was funny. And she goes, no, it wasn't Joe. It wasn't Joe. This is not funny, but it wasn't Joe, because we were laughing about it. And anyway, I just laughed it off. All I knew was a guy with a red shirt, no legs. That's the extent of it. Then I was out with you and Clark. I was horribly sunburned. I had welts on my back. I can't describe it. But anyway, I couldn't sleep at night. So I'd walk up and down the driveway with my old dog, Fred. And it was kind of a creepy place at night. But all the lights were on that night. And I'm walking back along the east side of the west side of the house, going back to the east side where I lived of the house. And my dog was walking alongside me, just stopped and looked off in the woods. And so I'm like, come on, Fred, let's go. And he looked at me, looked back to the woods, was kind of quietly growling. And then he looked at these 3 trees off the west side of the house. And I naturally looked that direction. There's this guy with no legs. I could see through the legs, but they're there. But below his groin area, I could see through them. They were dark blue jeans, just like yours, but they had copper stitching down the sides, and I don't know how this could happen, but the copper rivet caught my eye. It was reflected in the light. how a ghost or something could reflect in the light. I don't know how it's possible, but that's what caught my eye. And he was walking from left to right about 3.5 to 4 paces. And my dog then took off after him. And I thought this would be the last time I'd ever see that dog, because I don't think I could be running in the woods after that. But I had a sensation of calm that came over. I was choked and pulled underwater in the pool. But this experience is more epic to me because I didn't have the fright or flight reaction or sensation, either run and hide in the bushes or chasing off the property. It'd be one or the other. You're not going to just stand there and... I had the sensation of warmth, like I'm being dipped in a warm pool. I felt like I was supposed to see it, and it just blew my mind. Still can't make sense of it. But when my dog took off after it, I really feared for him, but he ran around the trees 2 or 3 times, and he could never find a scent trail. So then, to my surprise, he kind of came back to me, and we went inside. I walked in the grass a couple steps, and then the next morning, I woke up, and I was getting ready for work, and there was wet grass still stuck to the shoes. So I knew that really happened. It wasn't a weird dream.
Yeah.
Next day, I tried to tell him about it. He goes, "You're as crazy as my wife was." And anyway, so the next day, I thought, well, since Vicky's kind of a scientist and how she would process information, I said, well, when I get home, I'm going to talk to Vicky, and I want to take her outside alone and explain to her what I saw, and then just simply find out if we saw the same thing in a way that can describe everything to her, not with us feeding off each other's information, but flat out finding out if I saw the same thing as her.
Yeah.
I think I spent 15 to 20 minutes describing it, how tall he was, where he walked, and so forth. And then, long story short, she said, I don't know what we saw, but without a doubt we saw the same thing. I considered the jeans that you have on dark blue denim, she looked at them as black. That's the only difference we had.
Okay.
So
did she mention the stitching at all?
I don't remember. She saw him from the back, and he walked away from her both times.
Right.
And I saw him from the side.
Okay.
And I think the only other person who's ever seen that red shirt character was a guy that Rob called. And do you want to tell that story? I think that opened your eyes, because we were too embarrassed to mention this to anyone. We were too embarrassed to talk about it. We kind of I felt like a fool talking about it to somebody. But when Rob talked to this group,
right?
Yeah.
We had found on the internet, or I think Joe found on the
Yeah.
internet, that a paranormal group had come to the house before we even moved in, and Joe had found his name on the internet, and it was somehow tied to this property. So I called him, and I said, "Did you find anything while you were here?" And he says, "Well, yeah." He said, "That's one of those haunted houses in Indiana." And I said, he said, "Had you seen anything?" And I said, I haven't. I said, "My wife saw something." And he, on the phone, he said, "Let me tell you what she saw and where she saw it." He said, "You look out your master bathroom window to the west side of the property, there's a group of 3 trees. She saw a guy in a red shirt with no legs." And I said, yeah, that's what she saw. And at that point, he offered to come out and do a full investigation for us and things like that. And I declined that. But it was pretty remarkable. He told me just unsolicited what she had seen.
Are those the 3 trees?
There's
Academy. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I'll show you the trees.
Okay.
They're different. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, there's 3 that are just in a nice little group back over there.
And Vicky had, at some point, and I don't remember the exact details, she had just written down a name on a piece of paper after she had seen this figure and had put it away. But I don't remember if it was after you had seen, or
I don't know about this.
she had written on a piece of paper a name after she had seen it, and she put it away in a file. And I don't recall what precipitated her bringing it back out, but the name at the top was Alan. And Alan was one of the name of the victims. It's actually a friend, Roger Allen Goodlet.
Oh, and isn't that the one that he was supposed to, at the bar, that's the one that he was upset about, and he was asking Herb, "Where's Roger?"
Yeah, I think they called him Alan.
Alan,
He went
yeah.
by Alan.
Now, what's really unique was that. So when I saw this character, it was by the three trees, and not until after I told all this to Vicky, and she had not even told Rob this, but after I explained what I saw, where I saw it, where he walked, and everything, she says, "Well," and I realized I learned from her that she had seen this red shirt character farther back in the woods. I said, I know I saw this at this location. You saw it somewhere else. She said, "Well, here's what's interesting, Joe. I've never told anyone where I saw this guy, the red shirt guy, the first time. It was by the same three trees." And that's when we both went.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So it was, I told her enough information to where I didn't want to find out if the information she'd tell me and I'd tell her.
Right.
That we were feeding off and I thought I saw something, I did it. But at that point she said, "I don't know what we saw, but we definitely saw the same thing." And I felt that we were supposed to see it. I felt that it wanted us to see it, to let us know that they're there, I guess. But the really wildest thing of this whole experience living here was that one I would say is probably the most interesting to me because of the sensation of warmth, and that I was supposed to see it. I just can't really describe it other than that. I wasn't scared or threatened or pulled towards it or pushed away. I just felt like I was supposed to see it. The sensation of warmth came over me. It's just the strangest sensation I've ever had. Of course, the creepiest was when I was pulled underwater in the pool and dragged for 10 feet on my back. And I was basically drowning. I inhaled a lot of water, coughed up my lunch or dinner in your pool, sorry. But the mechanical room, the pump room in the pool room was latched shut. Now, we can show you later, but the door is either open or it swings open. It can't partially be shut. Well, the door was fully shut when we were swimming, and when I came to the surface, right by the pump room door, which is right by the edge of the pool where I was, it was wide open. And I was yelling at the two boys to get out, and they were from me to the end of the counter. It was, I'd say, about 20 feet away from me. So I knew it wasn't them, but I felt warm palms in the back of my neck and the fingers wrapped around either side of my trachea and just pulled me backwards and down faster. I can get my feet underneath me. And I was dragged on my back backwards, head first. And when I got out, his youngest son, William, wanted to keep swimming, was kind of angry with us that we were getting out. I was threatening to turn off the lights and stuff. No one was be in the pool by themselves with the lights off, I guess. But so he finally got out, and his oldest son, Michael, knew something was wrong, knew I was upset, and so we were changing in the changing room, I guess we'd call it. And he noticed a handprint on my right bicep right here, but it was from my right hand. It was like this, but on the outer part of my hand. Fingers longer than mine, and thumbs longer than mine, and it was, and the tips of the fingers actually bruised into my arm, and there was a handprint on my arm for about 2-3 weeks. But the tips
And definitely
were really
not you or the kids,
Yeah,
because
'cause
they
I
were
can't
still
mimic
kids.
that, yeah.
Right.
But and Michael noticed that. I didn't even notice that. But I don't remember being grabbed on my arm. Scratches on my back from being. It's a gritty, a concrete pool, right? Yeah, so it was kind of gritty, and I was dragged on my back. And then let's see. I mean, that was by far the closest I've ever come to drowning. It was. I mean, I was right on the edge of drowning. It was really creepy.
Did you ever get back in the pool after that?
I forced myself to.
Yeah.
Not alone, but I forced myself to get in the pool with him and get over your fears, you know.
Yeah.
Have a bicycle accident, get back on a bicycle or whatever. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty creepy. So. But yeah.
Would you ever live back here, or I mean, are you pretty neutral about the
I've got
location?
my own house now, so but yeah. I mean, this place. Well, actually, not to make too long a story here, but when I moved here, my first experience here was not seeing the red shirt. It was actually within hours after moving here. There is the steps on the outside of the house. When you'd walk up them, And they're old steps, and it's against a stone wall, and they kind of flex, and you can feel the stairs kind of moving or tapping against the wall. Everything I've experienced up there, I just felt that whatever was out there would get closer to me each kind of stage. And what I mean by stages was it was first, I always felt like something was 2 to 3, let's say about 3 steps behind you on the stairs.
Yeah.
You can stop walking and it would still be shaking and bonk, bonk, bonk against the stairs. And you could walk up and just stop immediately and it's still moving. Even when Rob used to have a cat that we called Barn Cat, he used to come out for milk and stuff in the wintertime, and I could hear him walking up the stairs. It'd be the same sound, a 10-pound cat or 5-pound cat, against someone my weight, and it would be the same sound. So I just thought that was strange. How could a cat move stairs like that? And then that all it all kind of happened, then it stopped, and that's when the door knocking started. And I had a checkoff sheet of every time it happened just so I could remember it. Not like during the situation, but I had a computer table that was within, what do you say, Rob, 4 feet from the door. The door would get would be knocked on. It was always 7 really long knocks, and just 7 knocks. It was on a big brass door knocker. I've experimented. He's experimented with it. There's no way for it to just flap in the breeze. It's not lightweight. It's the home store. It's heavy.
And always 7 times.
7 times. And I've seen 7 different apparitions here at the house on the property, and I assume that's associated with that. I really don't know. I know he killed more than 7 people here, but I've always felt that there were 7 people still here. I don't think there's still 7 here. I think one of them is passed on or something. But anyway, I just thought there was always 7 door knocks. And they were loud. You can put your hand on different parts of the door. You could feel the center panel of the door that it was being knocked on. It wasn't like a woodpecker or something. It's too high of a balcony to jump off of with a crank. There's no string out there. It was 35 different times. And the last part of that, it would always escalate. It would kind of die down for a while, then it would escalate. It'd be happening like every couple, like maybe once or twice a week on the extreme side. But it might go quiet for a week and a half. But it was really odd. It was always about 11:45 to 1:45 in the morning. I have no idea what that means, but as things would escalate, it would always be more towards 1:45. As the things that it would do would escalate, and then it would be really aggressive and stop, and it would then continue on other things. It always got closer and closer to my living quarters. And the last time the door knocked, it was at 1:45 in the morning. It knocked solid for 20 minutes. That long pause. And I was like pretty irritated. I'm like, Rob, is the house on fire? And it kept knocking, and no one was outside talking to me. I'm like, I'm ready. I had a rock or something I was ready to throw at somebody's head, but I was just irritated. So I got dressed because I was sleeping, got a pair of shoes on, was ready to wedge my shoe against the door and open it about this far, so no one could come in or whatever. I flipped the outside lights on, and it was still knocking. And I was putting my hand on different panels of the door. Knocked for 20 minutes. I was really trying to figure out what's going on, and it was definitely the center panel where the door knocker is, and I figured that out. I'm thinking, that's not good. And so I opened the door, just yelling at whatever's, cussing at whatever's there, and I kid you not, the door knocker was completely horizontal. I'm trying to look down the stairs. I'm trying to look past the balcony, see if there's any idiots running off or something like that. And the door knocker is like right in front of me. And I'm looking past it, and I'm like, oh my God, the door knocker is completely horizontal. It doesn't just go up and drop. It goes up and slams like I've never heard it slam before. Never did it again for me. It's since then done it for William, his son, that lives in the... And so how this came about was, Rob goes, all right, did that stuff really happen in the apartment? I said, yeah, what's happened to William? I immediately knew something has happened to William. And he goes, well, the door knocked last night. I said, just so you believe me, give me a sheet of paper. So I wrote down 1:45 a.m. and then 7 door knocks. I folded a piece of paper over, slid it to another buddy at our desk and at work, and I said, call William, find out how many knocks it was and what time.
And
he calls William.
That?
And then I remember he was talking to William on the phone, and he goes, Dad, I don't quite remember what time, but I remember texting you in the middle of the door knocking. It wasn't like afterwards. It was in the middle of the door knocking. 1:45, or came to get him. 1:45, and then he told him it was 7 door knocks. And then at that point, I had Chris help slide over the piece of paper. I said, "No, what's it say?" You're like, 1:45 and 7 door knocks. I said, "Believe me now?" Yeah. But so anyway, then that all stopped, and then the door would get kicked open. And it'd be windy out here. And it wouldn't be windy at times. And there's a big tree out in front of the door. There's a bunch of trees on the property. You can see from the door frame. And this is, I hate to say it, kind of a drafty house, but especially if there it is. It's made of Swiss cheese, I think. But if the wind might be coming from the west, which it generally does, or maybe the northwest or something, I'd experiment with the door. I'd have it, this is after the door would get kicked open a lot. And my dog would kind of react a little bit before this would happen, so I knew something was going on. The door wasn't latching right. But I experiment with the door being partially open. A wind gust might just push it open a little bit, or if it's coming from the north, it'd blow up maybe a little bit, maybe a foot. But it would never blow up. And so I really experimented a lot with it. You had a door knocker that would swing. So basically what would happen would be, if it was pushed with any sort of blunt force, like a kick, the door knocker would slap against the door as it's swinging. If the wind blew it open, I don't care how windy it was, like severe wind, the door knocker would never slap back against the door. And I'll show you guys upstairs. Really interesting figuring that out. So then I knew something, it was getting kicked somehow or bumped.
Yeah.
The last time it ever happened, and it was about another, I didn't count that as much, but I would say at least 30 times. The first time a psychic had been upstairs, Marilyn Isaacs, came upstairs there for the film, and basically I said, Rob, there's nothing upstairs. I said, there's something upstairs, and I want someone to look at, feel what's going on, or whatever, She goes upstairs, she goes right to the door, in the apartment, the front door. She walks in the room. Do you feel any weird temperature changes? Has anything happened here? And she's just going on and on and on. So I just looked at Rob. I said, do you want to tell her or do you want me to? And that was at 11:45 at night when she left on a Saturday. Sunday night, the same exact time. My dog was sitting at the end of my couch, and then there's a closet, and there's the front door. He got up, old dog, whimpered, tail between his legs, head way down, whimpered and kind of whined and cried, and about knocked a chair over to hide underneath the kitchen table. So I thought, what's wrong, Fred? Are you okay? And he's hiding it. He's never done that before. I knew something was up. I kid you not, right then and there, the doorknob turns, and I heard it kind of, it's a new doorknob now, but it would make a creaking sound as it would turn. It was old spring in it, and it sprung back. I heard it, so I immediately muted the TV and just saw it jingle a little bit. So then it did it again. I'm looking at the doorknob. It turned and made a clink sound when it stopped. I thought, that's not good. So I'm thinking, okay, is this going to be Rob here or something like that? And it's like a football running back rammed it at high speed. The door hit so hard against one of the other doors, it mangled both doorknobs, it dented them both. And then the panel door actually shifted when it hit so hard. Paint cracked off all the panels, like, the seams.
Right.
And one of the TV shows, they dramatize it, had leaves blowing in and all sorts of stuff. But it was really severe, and it hit really hard. That's one night that I think I left and stayed at my parents for like 2 days or something like that. But it kind of got me, because I felt like it was now in my living quarters.
Yeah.
It was like letting me know it was there the whole time. Now it's, hot damn, here I am, or whatever. I think this is not good. So at that point, then that was the escalating of the kicking the door. That stopped after that. And then I had, one night I remember, there was a 6'2", 6'5" man standing in the door frame between the kitchenette and then my bedroom, which is right in the doorway to my bedroom. I never leave that door closed because there was no windows in the bedroom. So it's like 4 a.m. I looked up and there was a dark shadow figure almost to the top of the door frame, and I woke up to my dog growling, and he was looking at the door frame, and I looked up and I'm like, oh, go back to sleep on that one. Anyway, I had silverware knocked in a sink one night. So I got up to investigate. And I had a milk carton in the trash can I had compressed, and I was expanding over, pop out or whatever. So I thought that was it. So I looked in the trash. I'm trying to figure out what the noise was. It sounded like silverware, so I just moved them out of the sink. I had a couple plates I had to wash, but I had not put away yet. Or I had to wash. And anyway, went back to bed. My dog barked, and then the silverware was in the sink again, and a plate fell into the sink and broke. So he doesn't get up on counters and stuff. He's a really well-behaved dog, but there's no food on the plates or anything like that. So I get up and I'm like, what the hell is going on? So I yelled at whatever's in there to knock it off, and then I can't remember if there's another noise or something. But at that point, I just did all the dishes, put them all away, and just was yelling at whatever's in there just to screw off and get out of my living quarters. And that's when I felt like whatever was messing with the door was now inside my living area, which was really unnerving. And I'd always sleep against the wall, which is actually the roof would come down, but kind of in a corner. I'd never felt comfortable sleeping there. And then I actually had video of, I woke up one night to my dog standing over me, and straddling over me, barking at something and growling. It most aggressive I've ever heard him growl. It's something behind me. Mm. And so I threw him off. I thought he was going Cujo, like that crazy dog in the movie. I threw him off me, and then he was standing next to the bed and kind of going back and forth, staring at this chair, growling at it, not drooling, but kind of that idea. And he was barking at it, really hunched down, yelling. Kind of barking at this chair. I thought maybe one of the cats got in, or there's a mouse or something. And I didn't want to get out of the bed because I didn't know what was going on. So I grabbed my iPhone. I couldn't find the flashlight app. And so I just turned on the video camera and with the light on it, recording around the room what's going on. Recording my dog, and he's growling, and he kind of stops, slows down, and then an orb comes out of his mouth, and he immediately goes to sleep. And I slowed it down, and you can actually see it's coming directly out of his mouth, and then he goes right to sleep. And I noticed that like a month or two later when I was really looking at the video, and I thought that was kind of disturbing. But I've had all sorts of things happen, and I didn't know that this. I never thought of it. I had this weird. I never had a name for it. It happened a few times as a kid, but really bad vertigo living here. I had it about 7 different times. It really lasts like an hour or two. It really freaked you out, You wake up, I would be in bed, I'd wake up, my hearing would be so intense, very, very strong. I didn't have pain in my ears, but it was just, I could hear a pin drop across the county or something. It was just so intense, I could hear white noise, like so clear, I can't really describe it. Everything seemed like you sitting would be about right where my hands are, and then everything in the room would be wider. And I just felt really dizzy. And I tried to go to sleep because there's the only way to kind of make it go away. It blew my mind when I heard that William, his youngest son that lives in the apartment, had that happen like three or four times. And he described it as that he was in a coma state. He couldn't really move that much, and I really couldn't move as well because I was so dizzy. But he said he could look around, but he couldn't move his body. And he said his vision was strange. I can't remember if he said his hearing was really strong, but how he described it to me was just unbelievable. Exactly what I experienced. He said he's never had anything like that before. And then when I found out that he had heard the door knocking, and he had a friend over one night, Jeffrey, I think, and he was sleeping on the couch, and William was in his bed, and then they both heard the leather-bottomed shoes with wooden heels, like a men's dress shoe, walking on the hardwood floor. And Jeffrey in the middle of it was like, William, did you hear that? Yeah. Is that you? Nope. And leather, like wooden heels and leather bottom shoes, walking the hardwood floor in the kitchen. And I played the audio that I had of that for William when I got recorded the voice. And he goes, that's the same exact thing. And we kind of sat down and talked about it, because to walk through the kitchen, it's about 5 to 7 steps.
Mm-hmm.
And he said it was 7 steps.
Has he seen the shadow figure?
He actually saw it in the back of his bedroom, kind of where his computer stand is, when he was in the living room area, which I had seen that before. I know that. I also saw a 17-year-old boy running for his life in my bedroom. From the, you kind of walk in you can go from the house into the bedroom, go towards the kitchen. He stopped at that door frame, ran back, ran into the bathroom, door number 1, ran down a bathroom hallway, came to the other bathroom door, put his hands on the wall, and looked left, right, left, looked at me, big eyes, thick eyebrows, black hair, dark brown hair. He was about to hear me, so about 5 foot, and stared at me, and then he ran back down the bathroom hallway into the house. That was about a 20-second apparition. A good 20 seconds. The first time I saw it, I thought it was just something I blurred in my eye. And then I saw it the second time. That was familiar to me. And then he was running for his life. Third time, I was then looking at details of eyebrows and things. Fourth time, I knew it was the same kid. It was the same running motion.
20 seconds is a long time to see something like that.
Oh, yeah.
That
And
is
my dog was going berserk. And he was like looking in front of the TV, looking at me, looking back at the bedroom. So I naturally looked, and I'm like, oh, my God. And it's him again. And I didn't know who it was, because I had no idea there was a victim that young here. Because I always thought it was mid to late 20s to mid 30s. And before the movie we did, Vicki and I were looking at some like B-roll footage, and it was of the dad of this victim, and said that his 17-year-old son, or they showed a picture of him, I go, oh my God, that's him. And he said it was 17, and I thought, that is his face. That's his face I saw, but his mouth was open, just like, it was just so shocking to me. And I had no idea there was a victim that young. Anyway, at the movie theater, if Rob can check on this, but at the movie theater, the mother of this boy came to the movie theater the movie we did, asked us to talk to the film director. And she said, I used to work with Herbert Baumeister for years. I don't know if it was at the BMV or the Save-A-Lot store. And then her son disappeared, and they kind of wondered if it was him. And they actually paid the money to do the DNA testing. Because back then, the victims' families had to pay $9,600 or some odd number to do a sample. And the state, you'd only get charged one time, and the state would do multiple samples after that to verify things. And I think they found part of a jawbone or a part of a mandible part with some teeth in it, and that's how they were able to get him. But so that blew my mind that he was running for his life. There's actually knife marks on the wall upstairs, and that's when I got the an audio of. I was asking if anyone was there with us tonight, and it said the married one, and that's when I heard the footsteps. My dog reacted to also hit underneath the kitchen table, like it did with the door getting kicked open, and he was whimpering and growling. It's on the audio. It's really disturbing, but it was really, really clear. And I felt that there's something in the apartment. A friend of mine saw something, and he stayed in the door frame of the entrance. He wouldn't. Really? He freaked out. Yeah.
He would never set foot in there.
He wouldn't go past like this linoleum tile area.
And it was his first time being here.
First time here. He grew up in the area. I ran up to him to get one of my customers. They said, "Well, I'll show you what we're doing for the movie and everything." And he was like, he saw something white go from left to right in my kitchen against like a picture frame. He saw the reflection run across, but he didn't see anyone running. But it was went in front of it's like in the reflection in the glass of a picture frame. And so I unplugged to prove there's nothing there. I unplugged the refrigerator, turned off the HVAC system, plugged the radio, the computer, plugged everything from the wall. Nothing electrical. I don't know why I did all this, but There's still a mechanical clock ticking in the background doing all this, but and 21 seconds in, we heard everything. It was just, you couldn't hear it there, but he said when my dog was growling, my dog was looking about 2 to 3 feet to the left of me. And that was pretty disturbing. So, but anyway, that's kind of the basics around here. But I saw stuff at the east side of the house by where I parked my car 2 different times. I was putting my convertible top down, looking in the rearview mirror. Saw like a white, kind of open arm shirt, like a white t-shirt kind of thing, but it wasn't a t-shirt, like a muscle shirt behind me, and I was just making sure the top was all the way down. That kind of was behind my car. It went like this, just went east. About 2 weeks later, they found a human scapula there. This is after I found the bone in the backyard. A group from the University of Indianapolis found, or it's actually Robert Query, right? Found the scapula right by where I parked my car, which is where I saw this. So that was kind of strange. And then the night before I found the femur, I saw something over there, and I got some pictures of it. I can't really find the pictures today, but it was basically just as how you described it, the shadow people you saw. They were darker than dark, and I've had a lot of people see the same people out here in the woods, and it was just like your shirt's black, but it could be night outside. It was sticking out darker than the background. Okay, and I could see like the arms come up, the shoulders, and it stopped and then like sliced right across here. And I felt like it turned to look at me like this, and it kept on walking down the valley, which is kind of down that way. And I found the femur kind of about 40 feet away from where I saw it stop walking. And my dog was running after a fox. We've heard a fox out here. And that was an experience in itself with a group of people. But thought someone was getting murdered in the backyard.
Yeah, those foxes, they can scream like something freaky.
Getting murdered out there. So
yeah.
So I, Foxhole Farm, and where's the fox live? So he's running down a very narrow animal path. There was really no paths out there at the time that I remember, maybe one. But so he's running down this little path, and I grew up at a reservoir. So there was beavers by our house, and they would chew on sticks, and limbs and stuff like that were fresh. They were like a very bright ivory color. They weren't gray and all dead looking like all the other sticks, but it was like you peeled off the bark, it was a very bright ivory color. That was the color of this bone. And we, as little kids, we called them beaver sticks because the beavers had chewed on them. And this bone had chew marks all down one side, and the ends were chewed off, but it was about that long or so. And so I looked at it looks like a beaver chewed on. There was no water around here other than the pond, so I picked it up and I said, this is not a stick. It was hollow. It was very heavy. I remember growing up out there, we had a lot of woods. I found deer bones and cow bones before, and they were very light. But this is really dense, really heavy. And so Rob was over at his sister's house for dinner for a couple hours, and so I got on the computer to look at what it was. I thought can't be an arm bone. I knew it was probably for a leg because it was very dense, very strong. And I figured it was probably, the femurs. Was it left or right femur?
Left.
So, anyway, he took it downtown, and they go, yeah, it's definitely 10 seconds.
Yeah, I took one look at it. It's a left femoral shaft, been on the ground about 15 years.
15 years?
Yeah, he said I thought it was a match to a right leg that they had never found the left for.
Oh. And is that person identified?
No, there's quite a few.
There's only 8 ever identified of the 17 or 19, right?
Yeah, there were 11 for sure here because the anthropologist found 11 of these first left metacarpal bones. So there's at least 11 left hands. But just because of the sheer number of bones, he estimated 17 to 20, somewhere there.
I think there's 17 to 21 here. That's what I felt. There's always the number 17 that comes out.
Brian felt, I think, more, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, what do you make of the shadow figures?
Native Americans. Native Americans.
In the woods, though, right?
Yeah, Native Americans. And I think that's probably what you saw, too, in Utah. And then immediately I heard they weren't shadow people, nothing demonic, but I heard immediately that they were Native Americans. Kind of the Native Americans that kind of guard this land that I was saying.
Yeah.
That were pissed at what he had done. So, yeah, that's what I heard.
And there's a shadow person that a lot of people have seen. I've seen Rob, I don't know if you'll admit it, but he saw it. He doesn't like to talk about it.
The most profound thing that ever happened to me, I was in the pool room, in the pump room actually, we call it the pump room, it's where the pool equipment is. And whenever I saw it, I saw it maybe twice. Whenever I see it, it's always never on center. It's always sort of out of the peripheral vision.
I always see it on my left now that you mentioned that.
And it's just something that causes you to look that direction.
Yeah.
And it's just a dark. It's really an amorphous mass. It's just, but it's something that sort of transitions from left to right out of your peripheral vision.
And then when he said that he saw something, all right, me, Dan, and Clark, he goes, sent me a text. All right. I believe you. I saw something.
Well, I'm so-and-so. I was given this name by my parents. I've been to such and such a college. I've done these things in my profession. I produce a little biography. Buddha says, forget it. That's not true. That's some story. That's all gone. That's all past. I want to see the real you are now. Well, nobody knows who that is. Because we don't know ourselves except through listening to our echoes and consulting our memories. But then there's a real you, and that again leads us back to this question. Who are you? That is the real you. We shall see how they play with this exam by the cohorts to get you to come out of your shell and find out who you really are. There is only the present. That's the only real you that there is. The Zen master Dogen put it this way. He said, spring does not become summer. First there is summer, and then there is spring. When you settle down in the train to read your newspaper and so on, you are not the same person who a little while ago left the platform. If you think you are linking your moments up in a chain. And this is what binds you to the wheel of birth and death. But when you know that every moment in which you are is the only moment, this comes into Zen. A master will say to somebody, get up and walk across the room. And he comes back and he says, where are your footprints? They've gone. So where are you? Who are you? When we are asked who we are, we usually give a kind of recitation of a history.